Let's talk about the 29-year-old former CIA staffer Edward Snowden. It's now been revealed that he was responsible for those leaks to The Guardian and The Washington Post, revealing the way the US National Security Agency gains information from internet companies Google, Facebook, as well as US telecoms. Have you had any communication with him?
We have had indirect communication with his people. What
do you mean?
I don't think it's appropriate at this time that I go into further details, but let's look at the case and let's look at what he's revealed. What he has revealed is what I have been speaking about for years, that their National Security Agency and its allies have been involved in a mass interception program of Google, Facebook, the various telecommunications data, the telecommunications flows to the United States, which is about 99%, for example, of Latin American traffic flows to the United States. Bulk interceptions of many, many people, many, many Australians. And we must ask the question, and the Australian government must answer the question, how many Australians have been intercepted? In the relationship between the Defence Signals Directorate and ASIO and US intelligence, has the Australian government been pulling that information about Australians? Has it been pulling that information about Americans? There's been admission here in the UK that GCHQ, which is the big electronic spying agency here, the equivalent of DSD or the National Security Agency, has been involved in that program, in the PRISM program, since at least 2010, accessing data obtained from Google, Facebook, Yahoo, etc. Is the Australian government still involved in this warrantless interception program? Are there collection points in Australia? Have Australian companies been part of this, having their information sucked out to the United States? Is this being done without a warrant? It is simply not acceptable. And if I am elected to the Senate, the Australian WikiLeaks party position is that there should be no interception, none at all, of Australians without proper judicial oversight. No warrants without a judge assessing independently the warrant, and there must be reporting every 6 months to the Australian Parliament on how many interceptions are occurring. You know, we run the danger here of the West more broadly drifting into a state where there are two systems. There's one law for the average person, and there's another law if you're inside the national intelligence complex. You can intercept whoever you want, you're completely unaccountable for your actions, there's no judicial review. That is not acceptable. I don't believe Australians find that acceptable. I don't believe that Americans find that acceptable. Snowden clearly didn't find that acceptable, and he was even someone in this system.
And is that the basis for your pitch for election to the Australian Senate?
Well, we have a great many reasons, and these various policies of different kinds will be released during election cycle. But in essence, the values of transparency and accountability and resistance under pressure that I have developed through hard experience with WikiLeaks, that is what we intend to take to Canberra. You know, we went toe-to-toe with the Pentagon, we've gone toe-to-toe with many other corrupt states. Canberra is a corrupt little mini-state. We all know that. There's a corruption of purpose. We elect people, we send them to Canberra to represent Australians to the bureaucracy, to hold the bureaucracy to account, to represent Australian interests overseas. Yet we have people like Bob Carr and Julia Gillard representing mining industries, representing Macquarie Bank, representing their long-lost American pals. That is not acceptable.
Well, how do you expect to represent the people of Victoria when you're locked up in the Ecuadorian embassy in London and you're wanted in Sweden on sexual assault allegations?
Well, you mentioned these in an inflammatory way. People should go to justiceforassange.com and they can read all about your so-called allegations, where even the women concerned say they had absolutely no intention to file any such formal allegations. This is a matter that has been taken by the Swedish state, that is admitted in the Supreme Court here on paper, it's admitted in the High Court here. This is a matter taken by the Swedish state. So people should have a look at justiceforassange.com. They can also look at the excellent Four Corners investigation into that entire episode. Now, if we go to the legal situation and representation, that's actually quite interesting. It's really very fascinating. You know, the state of Victoria was created by exactly such a situation. Once upon a time there was just New South Wales, Greater New South Wales, and it included the people of Melbourne, the people of Port Phillip Bay, and they found that they were not represented in the New South Wales Parliament whatsoever, and so they nominated Earl Grey, the same Earl Grey that is responsible for the tea. He was the Secretary of the Colonies to represent them in the New South Wales Parliament. He was here in the UK. He was elected even though he was in the UK, and he could not take his place in the New South Wales legislature. And the result, fascinating result, was that he created the state of Victoria when he was kicked out of the New South Wales legislature. So that, in fact, the very founding of the state of Victoria is analogous to the situation that I am in. But if we then go and look at the Australian Constitution, well, I would be taking my seat in July next year, so hopefully the situation has been resolved by then. But if it doesn't, we have a fascinating situation, which is the Australian Senate would have to vote to kick me out if I didn't turn up in the Senate for a period of 2 months. That would be a very interesting political situation that would reveal a lot about the two sides of politics in this country and what they do in the Senate and what they think is in Australian interest. But if they do, then another person from the WikiLeaks party, one of the other publicly declared candidates, can easily take my place. Why I'm not able to take it.
Finally, Julian Assange, Jemima Khan, who was once a keen supporter of yours, has recently lamented that you, in her words, expect supporters to follow unquestioningly in blinkered cultish devotion, claiming that you had become more like an Australian L. Ron Hubbard. What do you make of that?
Oh, well, come on. I mean, really? Jemima Khan, seriously? This concerns a Hollywood documentary made by Universal for $2.5 billion bucks. They wanted WikiLeaks to partake in that, but we thought they were going to produce a pretty sleazy result, so we said no. In fact, the documentary team that we are working with is the same one that is now holed up in Hong Kong with Snowden. That's Laura Poitras. Anyway, so because we went with Laura Poitras and we didn't go with Alex Gibney in the US, the result was Gibney then went to Jemima Khan and recruited her to try and bring us in to that documentary process over 2 years ago, giving her access and an executive credit in the film. But we couldn't tolerate the film, so we attacked the film, but she was part of the film, so as a result she attacked back. I mean, it's really just, it's nothing.